They said no heart in Makula could break beyond repair, not while he walked the earth. He carried laughter like a drumbeat and spoke with a rhythm that made pain forget itself. When lovers quarreled, they ran to him. When marriages bent like old trees, they called his name. He would sit between breath-soft corrections, invisible but firm. The heart of the business beat in silence, while the mouth of it shouted to the world. Soon the path filled with footsteps. Curiosity became a crowd, and the crowd became clients. The door of the heart drum opened wide, and Makula stepped inside. By noon, the air around the heart drum buzzed like market day. Women in bright wrappers passed by, whispering proudly, "They saved my daughter's marriage." Their words heal faster than medicine. Some dropped coins into a clay pot at the door before moving on. As if paying tithe to the temple of love. Inside, the rhythm never stopped. Coins jingled. Questions poured like rain. A young couple argued over jealousy. An old pair complained of silence. And even children peeped through cracks, wide-eyed to see what magic could bind hearts together. He welcomed them all with smiles, sharp enough to cut gloom. Sit, talk, laugh. Love is work, but it pays in joy. Hands waved, words spun fast, and laughter replaced tears before anyone noticed how. Across the room, calm eyes watched every gesture, every exaggerated promise. Quills moved over paper, recording stories as if each one were a rhythm to learn. When advice turned to sweet, a small cough corrected it. When a boast grew tall, a single glance trimmed it down. Together they moved like two halves of one drum, one beating loud, the other keeping rhythm. People left smiling, convinced their hearts were whole again. Outside, praise rose like dust. They are Makula's master healers. The heart drum never fails. The name spread from hut to riverbank. Lovers carried it in whispers. Traders shouted it between deals. Soon, no quarrel felt complete until the coach's words had judged it. And still, he smiled wider. Every compliment fed his pride the way rain feeds yam. Every coin in the pot glittered like proof that wisdom could buy bread. His laughter became the heartbeat of Makula. But under that laughter, a softer rhythm stirred the careful one that heard what others missed. The one that knew joy could change tune without warning. Evening drew its long shadow over the heart drum, but work refused to rest. More clients came, more stories unfolded. Each success became a stone in the tower of his pride. Each thank you became a crown on his head. He slapped his chest and declared to a crowd outside, "Makula's master of hearts never fails." The people cheered, echoing his words till the air trembled behind the curtain. Quiet hands folded papers, slow and careful. Eyes lifted toward a small shelf where an old charm hung, bones bound with red string, faintly dull in the fading light. It had been there since the great wedding, a souvenir he refused to throw away. A voice spoke from behind the papers, teasing yet edged with worry. "You love the sound of your name more than the truth." He laughed, loud and bright. "And the truth doesn't pay bills." The laughter reached outside where new customers waited. They clapped, believing it part of the show. Inside, silence followed, heavier than before. The charm on the shelf seemed to tilt slightly, as if listening. The night crept closer, carrying the smell of roasted yam and secrets. She closed the books, yet her eyes stayed fixed on that charm. For a heartbeat, it looked almost alive. A small memory pulsing in the dark. Morning returned with drums from the far market, calling another day of profit. Before the first rooster finished its crow, voices already lined the doorway. "The heart drum saves marriages," one cried. "The heart drum knows secrets," shouted another. Coins clinked. Promises flowed. Hope became something that could be weighed and sold. And Makula, proud Makula, called them heroes. He soaked in the praise like a dry leaf drinking rain. The mirror on the wall showed confidence where once there was humility. He straightened his wrapper, winked at his reflection, and declared, "Today will break every record." But not every crack shows on the surface. Some hide inside the drum, waiting for the next strike. When the door closed that night, the room felt fuller than before, full of laughter, full of coins, full of something unnamed. She lingered by the shelf again. The charm hung quiet, but its presence pressed against the air. Outside, a stray wind brushed the signboard, making the words tremble faintly. "The heart drum, love finds a way." It did not say which way. Morning poured over Makula like warm honey. The gold bangles on her wrists caught the sun, glinting and chiming with each step. She walked with calm certainty, the kind of confidence that made whispers pause and eyes follow. "I want to win back my husband. He has found another woman." Her voice was steady, her gaze sharp as the edge of a machete. It carried no doubt, only purpose. He leaned forward, intrigued by her boldness. Every word weighed like a drumbeat, announcing a challenge. She did not flinch, did not stumble. She stepped into the space of power as if it had been hers all along. Quiet eyes watched, calculating. Something about her moved differently, something unsettling beneath the confidence. The room felt lighter with her presence, yet heavy in the corners where shadows lingered. A smile spread wide, confident and reassuring. "We fix broken hearts. Yours will beat together again." Coins clattered as she placed a heavy purse on the table. The deal was made in silence, words unnecessary once the currency of hope and gold passed hands. A whisper followed her as she moved, her gold anklets jingling a note that refused to fade. That sound lingered longer than it should. Curling into the quiet spaces between hearts, another voice, soft and measured, cautioned, "But not all hearts should be stitched." It was easy to smile when hope walked through the door, but some smiles carried the weight of warnings. Ignored until it was too late, her figure left the room, gold shimmering, sound lingering, leaving behind a pulse of unease. The door shut, and tension thickened like morning mist. Her eyes hide secrets. "Don't trust her," he laughed, brushing the warning away. "You're just jealous of her, Grace." The drawer slammed in response, a punctuation sharper than words. Jealous. Or wise. The charm on the shelf shifted slightly, humming faintly. Its presence pressed against the air, unseen yet aware. Something waited for attention, something that the light of day could not reveal. She stared, voice low, sharp with caution, but he only smiled. Pride in gold wove a song in his chest, louder than the warning murmurs of the charm. Outside, life went on unaware. But inside, currents moved, hidden yet persistent, like water under stone, and those currents would reach every corner of Makula before long. Dawn arrived with ordinary promises. Yet when eyes turned toward the wall mirror, horror whispered. It split. Corner to corner. A jagged line, cleaving reflection from reality. Mirrors break when truth hides. He shrugged, dismissing the shards as ordinary glass. Yet when he leaned closer, his reflection smiled without his consent. It grinned, slow and knowing, echoing the warning he had ignored. The mirror was silent. The smile was loud outside. The market hummed with gossip, oblivious to the omen staring from the wall. He brushed the fragments aside, attempting normality. But fragments of truth cut deeper than glass ever could. Even the charm on the shelf pulsed faintly, unseen, keeping vigil. Something was stirring, something that watched the pride of the man. "We built hope, Ao. Now it dies outside our door." He rubbed temples, muttering, "It's just a bad season." The charm flickered red behind him, unseen but insistent. A pulse in the air, faint as a whisper, grew stronger with each passing second. It was patient, but it would not wait forever. Outside, drums sounded from nearby homes, dull and joyless. The rhythm of Makula had faltered. The heartbeat of the town slowed. Even the wind seemed hesitant, unsure whether to enter or flee. Inside, the tension thickened, pressing at ribs and shoulders. Pride alone could not mask the creeping unease that waited in the corners. The door opened again, this time with a slow, deliberate movement. Veil drawn, eyes sharper than before, she stepped inside. "You failed me." My husband grows colder. The gold coins she dropped on the table gleamed in the lamplight, shadows stretching like claws around them. "Then we try stronger medicine," he whispered, voice low, measured. Pride fought caution. Curiosity danced with greed. She smiled, hiding secrets too heavy for daylight. Another layer of darkness clung to her figure, like smoke from a distant fire. "Be careful," came the quiet warning. "This woman plays with spirits," but even words could not halt the gold and temptation. Some things move faster than caution. Some choices cross lines and never return. Finally, the secret emerged, heavy as iron. "My husband is Chief Moro." The words fell like thunder. A hush swallowed the room. Fear tasted bitter and sudden. The chief's temper was known across Makula, carried in whispers. In stories parents told children before sleep, he swallowed hard. Gold and pride fought for dominance. "We can still help." For double payment, disbelief burned in quiet eyes, burning brighter than candlelight. Trust frayed at the edges, yet gold glimmered, tempting decisions that would not age kindly. The charm pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat in the shadows, waiting, patient. Unblinking gossip carried across Makula like fire in dry grass. It led to the chief's compound, where walls held secrets and the air trembled with unspoken warnings. She followed the whispers, every footstep heavy with expectation. Then she froze. Gold shimmered at his side, and the woman beside him was not broken, not scorned. She smiled with quiet authority. "Not a victim, but a wife." "You lied to us, Lena." "No," came the answer, smooth and cold. "I only tested your hearts." Truth hit like thunder. The pulse of betrayal surged through the air, making even birds still. Hearts thumped in silent confession. Lies, long carried like weights, crashed into awareness with the force of storms. Drums rumbled from afar, steady and deep. Then she stepped into the space, moving as if she had never left you again. "I never left." the woman said, eyes glowing faintly. The kind of light that sees more than flesh and bone. She revealed herself. No longer a shadow of mystery, but the source of power. Lena's grandmother. A seer feared in 3 villages, spoken of in whispers that trembled lips. Her presence pressed against every wall, bending air and expectation alike. Nothing moved without her knowing. Nothing breathed without her witness. A small gourd dropped on the table. Rattling bones like whispers of the dead. You fed on hearts to fill your pockets, she said. Every word sharp, each syllable a dagger. Now the hearts bite back. He stumbled backward, voice trembling. We only gave advice. Advice laced with greed, she snapped, and the air twisted with accusation. Shadows leaned closer, and even the light seemed to recoil. Truth became weight, pressing against ribs, pressing against conscience. Every misstep in their work, every lie whispered for gold. Now clawed at the walls and their souls alike. Guilt poured like rain on dry earth. Confessions tumbled, breaking in hurried fragments. I forged letters, lied to them all. Even to her, the words fell like stones, heavy and sharp. Silence followed. Eyes hardened. The quiet voice of reason piercing through years of pride. You broke our bond for gold. The charm pulsed in red, alive in his palm. A heart within a heart, beating accusation, demanding recognition. The room held its breath. The floor seemed to wait. Nothing would be the same again. The hum grew louder, twisting into whispers, confess, or burn. Air thickened, refusing movement. Candles flickered and died, leaving shadows thick as ink. Hands reached for one another. Fingers touched, then recoiled. Heat leaped from charm to skin, scorching caution into awareness. Tremor in the pulse, trembling in the chest. The charm waited like a predator poised for strike. The weight of every unspoken word, every twisted promise, compressed into moments too heavy to bear. Fear and pride tangled, and the charm's quiet demand became impossible to ignore. A knock shook the space, heavy and final. Then the door burst open. Authority stormed in, accompanied by silent shadows in uniform. You tricked my wife. You played with my name? Knees hit the ground before words could form. Speech faltered, swallowed by dread. He could not hide from fury so sharp. Defiance rose elsewhere. We may be wrong, but we never played with souls for fun. Even courage trembled in the shadow of anger. Choices made in greed now weighed against justice too swift to escape. Every heartbeat drummed the warning of what lies cost when they reach the ears of power. Then it came the fire of revelation. The charm burst open, golden light filling every space. No one moved, but every lie became visible, echoing aloud. I lied to her. I took the gold. I loved the wrong heart. Truth became a roaring drum, exposing every misstep, every fractured intention. Silence shattered. The golden fire revealed what pride and greed had hidden. Eyes widened, mouths parted. Power, once distant and abstract, struck with clarity. Betrayal had no place to hide. The heartbeat of honesty pounded loud, unstoppable, relentless. The flames rose higher, carrying papers, charms, and secrets into the air. Weightless, yet heavy, they danced, twisting toward the ceiling before scattering into dust. Clutching chest, knees gave way. Collapse came in waves of shock and pain. Screams filled the space only to meet the stillness that followed. Silence answered, thick and heavy. Truth always burns the loudest. The seer's voice drifted through smoke. Even the air seemed to hold its breath, absorbing the lesson in quiet reverence. Every unspoken promise, every misused word, every coin taken for hope had its reckoning. The fire consumed not just objects, but the weight of deceit. By dawn, Makula awoke to smoke on the wind. Ashes whispered secrets to those who passed. Carrying news in silent tongues, the office lay in ruin, charred wood and crumbled paper. Yet the charm remained, glowing faintly, untouched by flame. It pulsed softly, a warning, a curse, a testament. Villagers murmured, voices hushed, their hearts called spirits. The spirits answered, and from that dust a lesson spread further than gold ever could. Pride and greed can build fast, but truth remains patient, waiting to answer. Barefoot, she walked away, leaving the glowing charm behind. A final gesture, quiet yet powerful. A caution carried by wind. A reminder that even in silence, justice speaks. Makula would remember. The heart drum would live, but only in stories, in whispers, and in the lessons burned into hearts too slow to learn otherwise. Smoke curled over Makula, curling like fingers of memory reaching into the sky. The sun rose pale, touching every face with light, revealing fear, sorrow, and whispers that raced faster than wind. Villagers gathered around the blackened remains of the heart drum, their feet crunching over ash and charred timber. Words carried from mouth to mouth, heavy with judgment and awe. Their charm called the fire. One voice whispered, trembling like a reed in water. No, another replied, shaking head, eyes wide. Truth did. The crowd shivered. Truth had come in flames. Truth had burned through pride and gold and deceit, leaving only lessons behind. Beneath a torn wrapper, a figure stirred, weak but alive. Eyes flickered open, scanning the devastation with sharp intelligence. Fingers traced the ash-covered floor, brushing away memories of greed and broken promises. Strength came slowly, heartbeat by heartbeat. She rose, coughing lightly, yet determined. A single nod. The silence was heavier than any words he could have spoken. Tears ran down his cheeks unchecked. A punishment for misused words, for hearts deceived and truths ignored. The curse had stolen his voice, leaving him to witness the aftermath of folly without defense. Villagers watched in awe and quiet fear. Even the wind seemed to pause, listening to the unspoken weight of consequence. She reached for his hand, squeezing firmly, a silent promise of forgiveness and rebuilding. By midday, Makula buzzed with stories. Market women clutched baskets and whispered as coins clinked. Carrying the weight of gossip further than any drum, they healed hearts but broke their own, one said, fanning ash from her dress. That's what happens when love becomes business, another added, shaking her head. Children tossed pebbles at the burned hut, their laughter sharp yet uneven with accusation. Heart liars, they chanted, voices rising like small drums, echoing the town's judgment. She walked away quietly, clutching her empty charm pouch. Its emptiness did not bother her. The weight she carried was far greater than any gold or spell. Curiosity followed, yes, but also respect. A silence grew around her steps, marking the difference between deceit and honesty. Between fear and trust. Days passed, and she set up a small wooden table beneath a wide mango tree. Its branches stretched like open arms, inviting the town to witness new beginnings. She placed a hand-painted sign upon it, "Truth for free." Villagers approached slowly, eyes flicked with suspicion and hope, unsure which would dominate. "No payment," one asked, brow furrowed, voice cautious. "Only honesty," came the reply. Calm, steady, unwavering. The words spread faster than market drums, carried by wind, by whispers, by children skipping along dusty paths, repeating, "Truth for free, truth for free." She welcomed every visitor, never hurrying, never hesitating. Even when hearts were heavy with secrets and lies, she met them with clarity, offering only what could not be stolen, only what could not break. Honesty. People began to trust again, slowly at first, then with growing confidence. Couples arrived, eyes downcast, seeking guidance for love lost, misled, or misunderstood. They listened without pretense, without tricks. Lessons were gentle but firm. The truth, once feared, now became a medicine stronger than any charm. A silent partner sat nearby, helping in ways no voice could explain. Notes were written with care, words chosen like seeds planted in ready soil. Love listens, even without words. One note read. A smile spread, quiet. A recognition that silence could carry meaning more powerful than silver or gold. Villagers began to lean into her words. Families, friends, lovers, all came to see that honesty held weight beyond any spell. Respect returned slowly, as if the wind itself carried it through every street. One quiet evening, lanterns flickered, crickets sang, and the air held that soft, watchful pause before night fully fell. The old woman returned, moving as if time had no claim on her. Still healing hearts, child. Her voice carried wisdom, soft but undeniable. Shaking dust and ash from memory? This time, the right way, came the reply, firm, steady. Born from lessons learned in fire and shadow, the seer placed a new charm on the table, small and carved with care. One word marked its surface: truth. It pulsed faintly, not with power to control, but with a promise to guide. A quiet nod, a blessing without sound, and she faded into the night. The mango tree's branches swayed, bending gently toward the future, toward honesty, toward hearts unafraid to be open. By morning, villagers found the old woman gone, leaving only the charm as witness. She tied it to her stand, fingers tracing the carved letters. "Let love be honest, even when it hurts," she whispered, voice carrying across market and mud path, over dust and footsteps, reaching ears that needed to hear, hearts that needed to learn. The wind carried her words far, and for the first time, the heart drum beat again. Not in gold, not in greed, not in lies, but in truth. From every home, every shop, every market corner, laughter and conversation grew steady, soft but real. Relationships began to mend, not through spells, not through deception, but through words spoken honestly, acts done openly, and hearts that listened more than they demanded. Even the silent partner wrote notes carefully, each one a testament to lessons learned and to the quiet power of integrity. Love listens even without words. And in Makula, the lesson spread like the pulse of drums at dawn. It was a new beginning, one built on honesty, courage, and the recognition that even mistakes, if faced with truth, could grow into wisdom. The small table under the mango tree became a gathering place, a center not of wealth but of care. Villagers left with more than advice. They left with understanding, with respect for the power of hearts, untouched by greed. The glowing charm reminded all who passed by, honesty endures, greed and deceit burn, but truth, once spoken, lives, spreads, and heals. Makula remembered. The heart drum, reborn not in gold, but in trust, pulsed quietly, steadily, undeniably, and for the first time since the fire, hearts beat without fear, with courage, with hope, and with the certainty that truth is the strongest magic of all. A small girl approached the wooden stand beneath the mango tree, her feet light against the dirt, eyes bright with curiosity. The sun glinted in her hair, catching hints of gold from her earrings. She peered up at the woman behind the table, voice trembling but full of wonder. "Mama Zara," she asked, tilting her head, "can you teach me how to make people fall in love?" The woman chuckled softly, a sound warm but edged with wisdom. Hands folded over the carved wooden hearts on the table. She shook her head gently. "No, child," she said. "You cannot make love. You can only help hearts see it. You cannot buy it or sell it, or command it to obey." The girl blinked, her small mouth forming an O of surprise. Curiosity and confusion mixed in her gaze, but she did not retreat. She stepped closer, eager to understand the weight behind the words. "Then how can hearts ever be together?" she asked, voice almost a whisper, yet carrying far in the quiet morning. "They can meet," the woman said slowly, "but only when truth guides them, only when hands are steady and words are gentle, only when pride does not shout louder than care." A hush fell over the small gathering near the mango tree. Villagers paused, glancing at the girl, at the woman, at the carved hearts resting on the table like small suns. Even the wind seemed to pause, waiting for the next words to drop like seeds into fertile soil. The voice of the storyteller rose softly, lifting over the market and the paths, over roofs and fences, like a drumbeat carried by the wind. "Words are drums," it said, "steady and true. When you beat them with greed, they call storms. But when you beat them with truth, they call peace." The girl tilted her head. The woman behind the table paused, closing her eyes for a heartbeat. The wind whispered past her ears, echoing the drumbeat that carried lessons from yesterday into the hearts of today. Even the trees seemed to bend toward her, leaves shivering as if nodding. "The storm comes when greed drives words," the voice continued. "The storm burns, breaks, and scatters. But truth calls the hearts to gather. Truth calls them to sit and listen. Truth calls them to heal." The girl's small hands clenched over the hem of her dress. "I want to hear that kind of drum," she said, voice soft but firm. "You will," the woman said. "If your hands never shake, if your words never lie, if your heart listens more than it speaks." The lesson hung in the air like smoke from the charcoal fires in the market. It lingered, thick and sweet, carrying promise, carrying warning. The girl tilted her head again, confusion flickering across her small face. "But didn't you and the man with no voice fix hearts?" she asked, eyes wide. "I saw people smiling. They said the heart drum worked magic." The woman sighed, a sound that carried the weight of memory, of lessons learned in fire and loss. She reached across the table, picking up a small carved wooden heart, its edges worn smooth by years of handling. She handed it to the girl, who accepted it with both hands, careful not to drop it. "We tried to fix hearts with tricks and gold," she said softly. "We thought we could guide them with charms and promises. But hearts are not clay to be molded, nor rivers to be redirected. Hearts fight back when treated like treasures to be bought." The girl's eyes widened further. She looked down at the carved heart, tracing the lines with her small fingers. "Keep this," the woman said, voice steady. "Remember, never play with hearts for gold. Never sell them. Never twist them to follow what is convenient. Only guide them. Only listen. Only help them find their own path." The lesson sank into the girl's mind like water into dry earth. She nodded, understanding in a way that words could not fully hold. She would carry the message forward, not as a spellcaster, not as a trickster, but as a keeper of hearts. The girl turned to run, laughter spilling from her lips like a small river breaking through a dry bed. She raced across the dusty path, her tiny feet kicking up clouds of powdery dust. Behind her, the wooden hearts glimmered in the sun, reminders of the lessons past. A light breeze swirled around the woman, tugging gently at her wrapper, lifting strands of hair, brushing across her face like the touch of memory. Beneath the rustle of mango leaves and the distant clatter of market stalls, she heard it faint, slow, almost imperceptible. "A drumbeat, Ao," she whispered, leaning closer to the breeze. listening with her heart. The drum seemed to answer, soft, mournful, regretful. "I'm sorry," it seemed to say. The words were not loud, not clear like spoken voice, but they carried weight, a confession in rhythm, a heart speaking through silence. The wind carried the apology across the empty spaces, over rooftops and roads, over hearts still heavy from lessons burned and learned. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the drumbeat settle into her chest. Even in its faintness, it reminded her of truth, of consequence, of the balance between words and hearts. Villagers nearby lifted their heads, sensing the rhythm carried by the wind. The market slowed, even the children pausing in their games. Whispers moved like water between houses and stalls. "The wind carries the heart drum again," one old man said. Nodding, his voice rough but clear, the sound faded slowly, leaving only the quiet hum of life, yet the calm it brought remained. Hearts eased, chests relaxed, breaths grew steady. Makula breathed again, careful, cautious. But with the weight of hope returning, the woman watched the villagers, their faces shifting from fear to curiosity to cautious respect. The wind carried her words, her heart, her lessons into every corner. No longer were spells or gold or pride needed. Truth alone could guide, teach, and heal. The girl ran back once, holding the carved heart high, a small flag of promise, of lessons kept and carried forward. The woman nodded, smiling softly. The storyteller's voice rose one last time, slow, steady, like embers glowing beneath ashes. Betrayal brings its own punishment. Honesty may hurt, but deceit destroys. True love cannot be coached, only respected. It cannot be bought or taken or forced, only offered, only tended, only nurtured. The drums fell silent, leaving behind only the whisper of truth in the wind. It moved through the village, stirring dust, lifting leaves, reaching hearts with quiet insistence. Children played again, this time learning the rhythm of patience. Adults spoke more carefully, choosing words like seeds to plant, not storms to strike. The carved hearts glimmered in the sun, resting on tables, in hands, in pockets. Symbols of what could not be stolen, what could not be broken. The woman watched the mango tree, its branches wide and steady, roots deep in the earth. Beneath its shade, she set her small hands over the wooden hearts, whispering softly, "Let love be honest. Let it be patient. Let it heal without fear, guide without greed, and endure beyond gold and lies." A hush fell across Makula, heavy but gentle. The village listened. The market waited. Even the wind carried a quiet understanding, and for the first time, the heart drum beat, not in gold, not in magic, not in power, but in truth, steady, strong, alive. Hearts began to move in rhythm with one another. Slowly, carefully, like rivers finding their course after storm, and the lessons learned in fire, in greed, and in silence had not been wasted. They became wisdom, passed down to the small girl with bright eyes, and through her to all of Makula, the drums of life. Now honest, now steady, carried the heartbeat of the village forward.